This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. President Reagan today gave a new accounting of what he says was Vice President George Bush's role in the secret sending of U.S. missiles to the Ayatollah Khomeini. And today, for the first time, Mr. Reagan publicly said that whatever George Bush advised him in private should stay confidential. The president also said for the first time today that Bush wasn't at a key meeting where Secretary of State Schultz says he vigorously protested the Arms for Iran deal. In the background is the attention given last night's live interview with the Vice President on this broadcast. Our White House correspondent, Bill Plant, begins our coverage.
President Reagan defended George Bush's role in the Iran arms deal and further confused the situation in the process. Contradicting White House records, Mr. Reagan denied that his vice president was in a January 1986 Oval Office meeting when Secretaries Schultz and Weinberger objected to the Arms for Iran deal.
Mr. President, when Schultz and Weinberger expressed their objections to this arms sale, some confusion about that.
No, he wasn't.
He was not present.
Schultz, Weinberger, Attorney General Meese, and former Chief of Staff Regan all testified that Bush did attend the January 7th meeting along with the president. Schultz told the Tower Board he argued against the arms plan as forcefully as I could. I was intense. But in last night's interview with CBS News, Bush couldn't remember.
I've heard George Schultz be very, very forceful. And if I were there and he was very, very forceful at that meeting, I would have remembered that. I don't remember that.
Was he there?
As far as my recollection is concerned, he was there.
That the president today recalled specific details of that meeting 2 years ago surprised some, since he pleaded a faulty memory earlier on a major matter, the timing of a decision to approve the original arms shipment.
One thing still upsetting me, however, is that no one kept proper records of meetings or decisions. This led to my failure to recollect whether I approved an arms shipment before or after the fact.
As the arms scandal unfolded in late '86, the White House repeatedly insisted that Mr. Reagan wanted everyone involved to tell all.
It is the president's desire to have the full story about Iran come out now.
But today, Mr. Reagan defended the vice president's refusal to repeat what he told the president about the deal.
No, I think he has been exactly right that that would set a precedent with regard to private conversations between presidents and vice presidents, and I don't think we have a right to do that.
The president's defense comes as no surprise. It's an open secret he favors George Bush. But there's a general belief here that whatever Bush says about the Iran deal doesn't matter, because at this point it's all politics, and that for Bush there are no right answers. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
CBS News chief political correspondent Bruce Morton is in Iowa assessing the possible Campaign 88 fallout of the Bush-Iran arms interview controversy, with the Iowa caucuses now less than 2 weeks away. But that this was a straight-out arms for hostage.
It was the interview heard round the world, and certainly all over Iowa.
Just a moment, please. Okay, yes, we are taking a poll. Just a moment.
KCCI, the CBS affiliate here, phones rang off the hook last night and today.
Okay, could you hold, please, sir? Okay.
Late this afternoon, station officials said the more than 600 calls were running about 7 to 6 in favor of Bush.
Well, I think Rather's a jerk.
Dan Rather. How come?
Well, I think that question needs answered. And I think Bush was the one that was very rude.
At radio station WHO, it was the hot topic on Lee Martin's call-in show. How did the calls go?
About 50-50, with a small but mighty lunatic fringe in the middle that said that, you know, who really cares about the whole thing?
Well, other candidates cared, that's for sure.
I don't think it should dominate the rest of the campaign, but it certainly was an electric moment.
The issue's still hanging out there, and he's going to have to face it, and he's going to continue to face it, and let's let him dispose with it.
I think it was about a draw. Somebody asked me what I thought about it. I said I thought it was too long.
Bush himself campaigned in Wyoming today and seemed to play down the controversy.
Well, it's kind of like combat, isn't it? He's got to do his thing. He's free to do it his way. And I'm free to defend my overall record and get my case to the people.
Was George Bush helped or hurt? And did he know what was coming?
And I think he handled it well. I mean, if a definition of courage is grace under pressure, last night, Vice President Bush showed courage.
I think George Bush has decided that press bashing is a blood sport, and since he needs to sort of pick up the manliness in his profile, he picked out Dan Rather last night and had a shot at him.
Some officials in other Republican campaigns agree with that. They point out that Bush attacked Des Moines Register editor James Gannon in a recent televised debate here to applause when questioned about the same issue, Iran-Contra.
And your paper today had that question raised as if I hadn't answered it. And I resent it, frankly, and I think that you owe me now. You owe it to me.
In fact, sources in other campaigns speculate Bush's strategy may have been to set up, rather, the vice president always planning to go on the attack. CBS News correspondent Terrence Smith asked Bush campaign director Lee Atwater about that today. Atwater laughed and then answered, "We never talk about how we make sausage." Bruce Morton, CBS News, Des Moines.
Now, if I may, a personal word about last night's interview with George Bush. A few notes for those of you who have asked and for those of you who may have wondered but haven't actually asked. First, no, CBS News did not mislead the Vice President about the subject of the interview. We dealt extensively with his staff about our intentions, we dealt truthfully with them, and we stated our intentions publicly well before the interview. Secondly, I, of course, respect the office of the Vice Presidency, the institution, and the Vice President. Trying to ask honest questions and trying to be persistent about answers is part of a reporter's job, and however it may seem at any given time, the intention of even persistent questioning in a spirited interview is to do an honest, honorable job. The fact that more attention is sometimes given to the heat than the light is regrettable, but it goes with the territory. Now, about the close. Ending live television interviews under time pressures sometimes isn't done as gracefully as we hope or intend, and last night was one of those times. Interviews such as the one last night are in some ways uncomfortable for the questioner, for the subject, and for some viewers. We understand that, and only hope for mutual understanding that it is an essential part of our democratic process for choosing our presidents. Thanks. Now, back to the news. In the latest Iowa polls, Vice President Bush is still trailing Senator Bob Dole, though Bush is #1 among Republicans in the national polls. In recent days, Dole has been dogged